Poor man. Dirty little poor man. That's just downright nasty. Like she's been at the pina coladas. Ooh, what a bitch. Wiggy. Welcome, whoever you are. Okay, so this is going to be one of those animated, worst Instagram animated stories. Those videos, little didactic ones where they have the moral teaching, like a modern day parable. The Diary of Life this is from. And they've got a couple on there, but this particular one caught my eye. And there's no voiceover in it, so I'm going to attempt to fill in and do the female voice, the narration, and there's two guys as well. I'm going to make up names as I go along because it's quite hard to tell who I'm talking about otherwise. So I'll give them names as and when I come to those characters. As we begin. A poor man was in love with a rich man's daughter. Overcome with his love for that woman, the man proposed to her. However, the rich woman rejected him and said, and you might notice in all this that she's got her sea legs on. She's waddling and swaying around a little bit like this, like she's been at the pina coladas. If you like pina coladas. Anyway, moving on. She replies, "Your monthly salary is equivalent to my daily expenses. How do you expect me to marry a poor man like you?" Ooh, what a bitch. I mean, there's a way to let a guy down, and that's just downright nasty. But she doesn't leave it there. Ever the opportunity to twist the knife, she has precious other words for our Norman. "I could never love you, so forget about me and get engaged to someone else of your level." Ooh. The haughtiness of this woman knows no bounds. I mean, but hey, we don't know the backstory. He could have been pestering her for weeks, following her around, being a stalker. So let's not cast judgment just yet. She sways off, bumping into every lamppost and rail guard in her path. So we can get a general feel for these characters. She's a bitch and he's a poor man at the moment, a bit pathetic. Time passes, as it does, and 10 years have gone by. And she's in a mall and she spots him, and she's still swaying, so she hasn't resolved the drinking, still there. I mean, imagine someone coming at you with their hand up like this. "Poor man, poor man, burn him, burn him."
Pay the fool, that's what you're here for. I suppose you've been getting drunk at your own bar.
Not known for their subtlety of dialogue at the Diary of Life, very hard-hitting, the first thing that comes out of her mouth after a rhetorical "how are you" is, "I'm married now, and you know how much my husband's salary is? $15,700 per month. Can you beat that, you dirty little poor man? And he's also very smart." Ah, dear Normsky, on hearing those painful words from the woman of his dreams, held back his tears and said nothing. He's a broken man. For pity's sake, woman. I mean, the conceit of this woman. Adam, they're only characters. Yeah, I know. All right, the conceit of this character, okay, in thinking that he, after all this time, would still be interested in her. This 10 years have gone past since she was last a bitch to him. But alas, the torch still does shine bright and doesn't look like it's going out anytime soon for our poor Norman. Now a new guy comes into her story, her husband, and we'll call him Pistachioed Pete, okay? And he says, "You're here, and you've met my wife." And remember, this guy earns over $15,000 per month, and that's a pretty penny, and he's clearly a moron. So one of the morals of this story is you can be a moron and earn a lot of money. And also, why is he calling him sir? He's not his butler, and it's out of work hours. But here comes the big reveal and the twist. From the rubble to the Ritz, Then Pistachio Pete, Mustachio Pete even, turns to his wife and said, "This is my boss, who runs the $100 million project I've been working on." She is flabbergasted and cannot say a word. So, a little bit quiet here, aren't you, bitch face? Pistachio Pete goes on to say, because he's smart, he became successful. Well, you're not doing too bad for yourself, Pete, are you? And you're as thick as pig shit. So, maybe the two don't always go together. God, so hot today. Wig, wig hair, wiggy. And here we get a little exposition from hubby. Yes, dear, he's a very humble person, but his life is quite a sad story. You see, they once said he loved a lady, but she dumped him because he was just a poor boy. I'm just a poor boy, nobody loves me. Now in this montage scene, there are some subtle political messaging going on. We got the clerk. We got the clerk. He worked really hard. He worked so hard. Hustling, he's hustling, he's hustling. He's the manager, the manager, the manager. The big CEO G. Yeah, red tie G. Did you see the tie where he's a manager, he wears the blue tie, Democrat, and when he becomes the CEO, so a level way above the manager, he wears a Donald Trump red one, Republican. Maybe, maybe not, I just thought it was an observation. And finally, to top it all off, we find out Norman is a mob boss with an attaché briefcase full of moolah. Because that's what you do when you're a CEO, you walk around with briefcases full of cash. To fully understand the moral of the story, we need to take a rewind. Our friend Pistachio Pete tells Bitchface that Norman is a very humble person. So what do we know? We know she's a shallow bitch that goes where the green is, and he is annoyingly, pathetically humble. All he had to do is start sniffing around when he was the manager, because he's got a little bit of money at that point, splash some cash on a few extravagant presents here and there, and then when he hit the CEO, so the big moolah, he should have then popped the question. But all the while, given the impression that he was a high roller. So even when he was a clerk, he could have given the impression that he was earning a lot more. So really, the moral of the story is, humble guys end up lonely and miserable. So in order to be happy and successful, you've got to fake it until you make it. But there's more. I'm also a little bit worried about Norman's values. Norman is the humble guy, by the way. Because we know Bitchface is a money-grabbing princess, but Norman knew this about Bitchface because of her treatment of him. So knowing Norman knew this about her character, this means he was only into her because of the way she looks. Because it wouldn't have been for anything else. I mean, he knows she's a bitch and he's already got money at this point. So whatever way you look at it, it doesn't paint a great picture of Norman either. And he comes across on the shallow end of the spectrum as well. So what have we got next? So that was video 1.